Time to get you hooked again. Welcome inside episode number 2 of The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Go to RIIZEUP.com. Rise up, get your boost, get your fill for the day. We're excited that Rise Energy Strips has been our sponsor from day one. We've got another great episode today, tons to get into. Let's introduce the Longhorn legends alongside me. My name is Bob Ballou. I'm a sports director at CBS Austin, always joined by the quarterback, Vince Young. Vince, since the last time we talked to you, you made an appearance at MLS All-Star Week, and your son took you down. What happened, my man?
Oh, that's how we're going to start this week off?
I played golf with Vince last week, and his son took him down there too. So I mean, this is going to be and Vince is going to be on a curve headed down, and Jordan's going to be on a curve going up. So I do know that age thing.
Hey, what goes on in the house stays in the house, guys.
Hey, Vince, Jordan's arm looked good, though.
It was his birthday, so, I had to, make him smile and enjoy himself, but, he won't be doing that too much.
And, Bob,
Okay,
I'm not
fair
coaching,
enough.
but I've already offered him. So if I coach again, it'll be an offer that was out there first.
In golf, too, right?
And golf, no question. He can smack a golf ball at his age.
It's crazy.
Almost like they're really an athletic family or something.
Welcome, genes are strong.
Very.
Genes are strong. Welcome, Vince. Welcome, Coach Mack Brown. Mack, you always used to tell us the biggest improvement, the biggest leap a team would make was from week 1 to week 2. Do you think we're going to make the same leap this week?
Absolutely. We had fun last week, and we kicked it off and won big in the opener, but we got pressure today to do it again.
Right.
Got to repeat.
No doubt.
Got to
Rinse and repeat.
Can you repeat?
We'll be back, baby. We'll be back.
He'll be back.
We're going to put the pressure on you, Bob.
I love it. I love it. I mean, there's nothing I'd rather hear from Vince. That's the best thing. Hey, new episodes of The Stampede drop every week. You can find us on YouTube, anywhere you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere like that. You can also find us on all the social media platforms at The Stampede UT. We've got so much to get into. We want to talk a little bit about preseason football. It's all kicking off this week as preseason camp gets started for the University of Texas. Steve Sarkisian squad heading into 2025. We'll get into that. We'll also talk a little bit about Ohio State and start talking about that first road game that's coming for Texas. It's coming soon. It's a little more than a month away, but these two know a little bit about going to the shoe and what that's like. And then in our final segment, we're going to talk a little bit about the playoff structure and kind of what should happen. Some really interesting takes from some coaches over the last week at media days and what they want to see, what the Big Ten wants, what the SEC wants, where the ACC and the Big 12 figure into all that. So we'll get into all that in this show. And let's start right with preseason camp. I mean, it's here. It begins this week. Guys, let's start with Vince. Vince, when you went into preseason camp, it feels like there's so much excitement, and then there's just 4 weeks of, man, we can't wait to play a game. What was your approach as you went into a preseason camp?
Well, the first part is controlling your emotions. Because of the energy, everybody's happy to be back. To see your teammates, to see your coaches, it's just a big blur of just having fun and trying to get everybody to calm down and let's go to practice because we don't want to piss off Coach Brown on the first day. Don't nobody want to do that. And that's another story because, I remember this guy, we wasn't practicing well and he started the whole period's over. I was like, what? We finna start over from period 1? So, me as a leader and the rest of the other leaders on the team, our main thing is trying to get everybody calm. I understand we're excited. Everybody's fresh. Everybody's extra fast. Everybody's talking smack. It's just unbelievable, a lot of trash talking. And, as the first day goes on, and then, like you said, once it gets to like week 3 or things like that, that's when you start to see the scuffles, all the fights. And coach is
Everybody's
like,
tired.
hey, coach, hey, watch your hand, Vince. Don't hit nobody with that hand now.
Yeah, we don't need a broken hand.
Fun. Yeah, it's fun. So we compete till it's time for us to take it out on somebody else.
Mac, how much did you have to calm the waters that first week because of that excitement?
Bob, we learned that the guys are so excited to see each other because you let them go home for a couple of days or a week after the summer workouts before you start, and you're in shorts. You've got to have a couple of days in just shorts and helmets, and then you get these little spider pads on next, and which is just a little cushion over the top of your shoulders, and then you actually can put pads on, but it's about 7 days before you get into pads. And we learned that the guys are so excited, and without pads and without hitting, they run so much faster. They do so many more things. We had to cut practice. Because if you had a normal practice with the speed that they were running and as fresh as they were, you could very easily have pulls. You could wear them out in shorts, and then they'd be so exhausted by the time you got in pads. And the heat in Texas, especially, is just unbearable.
Yeah.
And the guys have worked in it all summer. But we didn't have an indoor area when we first got to Texas, and we thought we were always tired when we started the season. It was because we wore the guys out. We're out in the sun wearing them out. So we studied every pro team in the Deep South that had heat and humidity. And they said, take your first hour outside, you'll be acclimatized for the weather, and then take the second hour inside, and you'll be more fresh, you'll get more done, and you'll be healthier. So we started taking the first hour out, the second hour in, and we got a lot better. And we were in great shape. We had fewer injuries. But you've got to really be careful and cut that practice early, because they're just going to be so excited. And you've got a new group of players. You got 23 new freshmen that came in June that really haven't been in that locker room. So the Vinces of the world would have to go in there and say, okay. And you had big brothers for those incoming guys because they were scared. They were nervous. They'd be homesick.
Get out early, or you got to do push-ups.
Yeah. So they couldn't be late. And you had somebody responsible for each one of them, and that was his big brother. And he took care of him. And we even thought at one time, if Vince's little brother got in trouble, then Vince had to run with him, so that they weren't going to get in trouble.
Come on, Coach McCoy. Don't do me like that, babyface Coach. Don't do me like that, big dog.
Well, Coach wasn't going to get in trouble, so you picked the right one.
I got the right one.
Vince, how much did you
look? And shout outs to our training staff, because, man, thank you for cold towels. What you said, Coach said it was hot. And you'll come into practice. I'll probably come to practice probably 2:15 and leave practice at 2:09. That's how much weight you losing out there.
Well, and you have to weigh in and weigh out before every practice, because if you lost more than 10 pounds, then they might not let you practice the next day, problem. And you'd really have fluid. And the strength coaches, the strength staff, the medical staff, all are trained in first aid certification for CPR, and because you're trying to push the guys as hard as you can, but be safe.
Yeah.
And one thing the NCAA really helped, they allowed the strength coaches to be out there, not the coaches, but the strength coaches could be out there all summer in the conditioning, which is really smart, along with the trainers. So if someone did get too hot, you could pull them out. And now they've got GPS on each player. They know how much they run. They can tell when he's getting to a point that he might pull, so they pull him out. There's just it's so much more safer than ever before.
Well, and Mack, you had such an incredible medical staff for your 16 years at Texas, and some of those guys still there. I mean, it's an incredible job that they've done over the years. Vince, when you look to position battles, even in that first week, you're the leader of that team going into 05, and I know a lot of things were settled, but there were still some position battles. What are you trying to see from some of those position battles? What do you want to see as the quarterback of the team that says, I trust this guy, I trust this receiver, I know my tight end's going to be where I need him to be? How do you go through that process?
Well, for me, it started in off season. Like Coach would mostly says, like, I need you at 7:07. I need you in the film room with me. I need you working out. I'm looking at that right there. That's showing me your character, for one. If you can be there and be there on time, also, going to summer school, taking care of your responsibility with your books, and then also coming to take care of your business on the practice field, that's top notch. Because if I'm doing it and the rest of your teammates is doing it, I don't care if you are the star player or the freshman guy coming in. I'm holding you accountable for being there with your teammates and going through the whole process of sweating, going with Mad Dog. That is tough just by itself. And you can handle Mad Dog in the off season, then okay, we're going to say that, okay, this guy got it. He has it. He has the first part of what he needs to to be a part of this team. And then once we get to, practice, now it's all about how you prepare yourself, preparation. Can you be consistent of running the right play, lining up in formation? Because, Coach Davis, he throwing all kind of stuff at you. you got gunshot right twins, you got jack twins, ends, motions, out. This probably confusing you a little bit, Bob, but we throwing a lot at you guys. And we want to know who can handle it. Because at this point, now it's all about when we going against our first defense and getting ready for the season, can you be consistent catching the ball? Can you be consistent getting lining up straight? Can you be consistent, not dropping the ball, not, jumping off sides? All these type of things matters because when this heat take over you, you got to be mentally disciplined to not make mistakes on the football field. And Coach Brown, Coach Davis, and the rest of our offensive staff, they don't mess around with that mental, things like that. And that will put your butt to the back of the line real quick and get a guy up here who knows what he's doing. And I appreciate that for one. But again, for me, it's just all about in the offseason and transferring that from the offseason to the season.
And Mac,
Bob,
how much do you manage that? How much do you have to manage like kids' heads spinning versus like we need to know what we've got?
It's always a fight for the head coach. Coach Davis wanted to put in everything we were going to do all year. And he wanted to put it in preseason and just introduce it to Vince and Colton, get it out there and let the guys look at it. I wanted to get really good at something. So it was always a fight. I said, let's be who we are in preseason, and then we can add the toys. But I want to do what we do better than what they can do to defend it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get good. I wanted Vince throwing the same throws over and over. The receivers ran the same routes over and over. So we were so good, it was second nature. So it was a fight. And it's a fight with your assistant coaches. And you say, well, you're the boss. Well, you are, but they still pout and they don't do as good job putting it in. It's still a family fight that you can agree to disagree, but still you've got to fight as you go through. And then the other thing you've got to do now is you've got to look at those 23 new ones coming in, or the ones that didn't come in come in early enrollees, because you're trying to figure out now, can some of those guys play?
Yeah.
And how much better did the freshman that came in the spring, or the junior, or the transfer that came in the spring, how much better is he going to be? Because you're also trying to figure out your depth. Yeah. And we didn't want to call them ones and twos and threes, because if a kid, you call him a three, he's a three. So we called them, the orange team was the first team, the white team was the second team, and the herd was the third team, because if you're in the herd, you're trying to get out and be one of the guys. But then you try to get as many starters as you can get. So if we can get Vince 4 receivers, that's great. But if we can get him 6, that means that we're healthy and we're fresh throughout the season. We've got more team morale. We're in great shape. So we tried to get as many starters as you could get. You could have 15 starters on offense, just not everybody goes out there on the first play. And then mama's happy, high school coach is happy, everybody's a starter. You'll start it? Yeah, I'm a starter. I won't walk out there first, but I'm a starter. And that really helped us with each player. Then you try to find who's got a purpose. And when you're looking at a freshman that comes in January, Colin Simmons last year's freshman of the year.
Yeah.
But if they come in January, you don't count them as freshmen. They've already had off-season program. They've had spring practice for 15 days. They've gone to college. They've had summer workouts. So they're like sophomores. So you can't count them as freshmen. Now, a guy that comes in June, his head is spinning, man. He's out there with Vince Young for the first time in his life, and he's seen Vince as a hero, and practice is a lot faster.
I first met you, Coach. I was like, whoa, is this Coach Brown in my crib?
Yeah, but I'm not running faster than you are. You're running a lot faster than these guys. And the game just moves faster. It's like when the guys go from college to the NFL, the game moves faster. But when you leave high school, you think you're pretty cool because you're the best player on your team. Well, now you're around every best player on their team. And you're around all the best players for the last 4 years on their team. So practice moves so fast. And then a coach is getting on you. And you haven't had a coach get on you because you were the star. And then you look at these guys. Can he play against Ohio State if he's a true freshman and he got here in June? Probably not a lot. May back up some. That's too much pressure. But then you've got an easy schedule. You've got 3 weeks that you can play him. And you've got an open date before you go to Florida. So you look at different phases of the year. If he can't play at Ohio State, or can he back up a little bit? Still want him on the trip so he sees that experience and gets it. Colt went on every trip and watched Vince play. Didn't play, but he watched him play every game. He was in every meeting. He's at every halftime. He's at every pregame. So that's what these young guys will do. And then maybe by Florida, they've played enough against San Jose and the three teams that aren't as good as they are. They've had the open date, and then they're a lot more ready to play when they start the second phase of the season and start the SEC at Florida than they are in the opener against Ohio State.
So that's a great transition into this Texas roster. But getting into that, Vince, I want to ask you, because there was a true freshman that played pretty well on that 2005 team in Jamal Charles. How did you know he was ready? What was it that you saw in him that you said, I mean, we've got Ramots, we've got Selvin, we know who we are. What was it about Jamal? I mean, obviously we know who he is and what he was able to do, but in those early workouts, what did you see that you went, man, this is it?
Well, first of all, the speed was just unbelievable when, we saw him on film and we saw a couple of highlights of him in high school. And then this young man come in like, I'm going to run 200 yards more than Adrian Peterson in the Red River Shootout. And we feel like, whoa, hey, wait a minute now, sir. Come on, PA, Texas, Port Arthur. Slow down now. And then he actually goes in and does it. But in the same time, once he got in and me and Selvin Young was his host when he came into his official visit to Texas. And we got an opportunity to hang out with him and get to know him. He was a little bit shy and quiet, and he was a little nervous. And then, me being who I am and Selvin, we, nudging him a little bit, letting him have a little bit fun, go up, show him around the campus, things like that. And kind of broke the barrier of letting him feel more comfortable. So once he got on campus with me and Selvin, he was with us all the time. He was like a piece of paper or a gnat at a barbecue. Like, dude, like, get away. Like, why is you keep nagging the mess out of us? He was at our house, at our apartment. He was hanging out with us, and he was learning, how to, become a Texas player, and also, just being around the guys. And he did a really good job with that. And then once he got to the football field, if you studying with Selvin Young and Cedric Benson and these guys, once you in the room with those guys, they're gonna teach you, especially Selvin Young. He's all about not just about me, it's about us. And coach was great with that in the film room and in the position room. So when he got here, he didn't have too much of a problem transitioning in because he had some really good leaders around him in the room that he was in.
Does he know that you call him a gnat at a barbecue?
He knows now. Even at the game this past week at the soccer game, the All-Star game, I was like, he walked in all slow and he had his kids with him. They was almost taller than him and faster. I'm like, oh man, you starting to get slow and you starting to get older, buddy. So you're not fast anymore. He didn't like that at all.
When Vince saw how fast that gnat was, he liked him a lot better, and he let him start hanging around with him because he knew he was going to be handing it to him and throwing it to him.
So I told him speed kills. Every time we broke the huddle, I said, speed kills, man. And look at it, he was 20, 30 yards down the field making a big play every time.
Man, we saw it immediately with him, no doubt. Let's get into that running back position battle a little bit at Texas now. I mean, obviously, Quintravian Wisner comes back as the 1,000-yard back from last year. C.J. Baxter's coming back from injury. But the other four guys, they have so much excitement about. I mean, Jarrett Gibson had a nice freshman year. Christian Clark obviously gets hurt in the preseason, but he was a guy that they really liked before that injury. And then you got the two freshmen in James Simon and Ricky Stewart that Sark's already mentioned as two guys that he really likes. So that's 6 running backs. And obviously you have your kind of pecking order of who's going to start in preseason camp in those positions. But, how does that play out? What is it about the running back position on this team that you guys kind of see unfolding in preseason camp?
Vince?
Well, for me, is Wisner. What he did last year was unbelievable with throwing in or pretty early and didn't know, these things was about to happen. Never will want anybody on the team to get hurt. CJ, he's a incredible running back, and I know he excited. I've been seeing him on campus, walking around a little slimmer, got a little bounce to him. He's excited, and you just got to figure out how to fit him in because he's going to want to play. But, these 3 guys, I don't feel like it's going to be a problem right now. I just feel like to me, coach has an edge with 3 backs coming in. You got 2 guys that miss an entire season. So for one, they want the ball. So you're gonna have to give it, coach. Coach knows this. He's probably gonna be tapping you on the shoulder, like, coach, give me the ball. And you got Wisner just sitting there like, okay, I was the guy last year and I did everything I was supposed to do. So throw me in. So you got 3 guys. And then also you got Arch that can move around as well. So to my point is, I think Coach Starks is to look at that a little bit more. I know it's going to be tough for him because he loves throwing the ball, but in the same time, I feel that he's going to have a really good running attack once he gets that rotation down.
And Bobby's got to Sark's got to work on the running game so much because he's got an entirely new offensive line.
Yeah.
So he has to figure out how good those guys are. And then you figure out what plays you're going to run. Because when we ran different plays with Chance Mock than we did Vince, because Vince could run faster. So we tweaked some things. And then if you've got the freshman running backs coming in, like Jamal Charles, you've got to simplify for him. Most high school running backs don't protect. They get the ball every time. They're either throwing it to him or they're handing it to him. And like Cedric Benson, he'd never had a pass protection in his life because they weren't going to waste it throwing it to somebody other than him because that was who it was. So when then you've got to look at keeping these guys healthy. 2 of them got hurt. You got CJ back. You got Trey, who's really experienced. He's in the mention for the Doak Walker Award. How much do you hit them? How much do you scrimmage them? You've got to hit them enough that they have good ball protection. You don't want them to get hit the first time at Ohio State and fumble. But you got to have a lot of physical thud, which means you don't take them to the ground, but you hit them. You've got to you're playing against a great defense that's coming back for Texas. So you've still got to make sure your offense has some confidence. So if you go first offense against first defense, orange against orange every day, and the offense never moves the ball, then you're going to have to start going against the twos some, and the white team, you're going to have to go against the herd some because they've got to have some confidence. And people say, well, it's not real. Well, real is real. Right. If you can't move that ball, and I didn't want Vince and the offense to ever leave the field without having some confidence. So I was going to make both teams have some success at the end of practice before they left. But you got
that's
6
why
running
you did
backs.
that.
That's why I did that. I wanted you happy.
Okay. I always wonder, what's going on here? I think we are beating the mess out of our defense. Can we continue to beat the mess out of them?
No, because they had to play 2. And you wanted that ball back. So you've got, that's where the head coach has to take over and say, okay,
Right.
That's enough here. White
It all
offense
comes out.
come in against that orange defense. Oh, great defense. God, you look good. And then you go in and yell at the defensive coaches because they stunk. But you didn't want them to know that because
Right.
they had to feel good. But when you've got 6 running backs, you got to figure out you can probably play 3. You'll play 2 a lot and have 1 go in and rest. But when we were great, we were able to just rotate running backs. You could even let them have every 6 plays, every 10 plays to keep a fresh one in the game. And they get hit on just about every play. So if you're rotating them, you have a lot better chance to keep them healthy.
And to your point, Vince, it's really interesting. You know, Steve Sarkisian's been a head coach for 10 years, and all 10 of those seasons, he's had a 1,000-yard rusher. So he puts that emphasis on it for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out with the 6 running backs. A new running backs coach, Tashard Choice, is gone. They brought in Neil Brown from West Virginia to help in that front too. So there's a lot of moving parts that they've tried to establish, obviously, since that loss to Ohio State in January up till now, and try to move forward as a program that's going to run the ball. And Sark loves to run the ball too, and he makes that an emphasis. So I think that's a really good point you made. All right, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to get into Ohio State a little. What was it like to prepare for that month to go to the shoe? And when I say that month, I should probably say that 9-month span because I know you guys were excited about it. So we'll get into a little bit of that. You are watching or listening to The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Back after this.
Feeling drained, but don't want another sugary drink or coffee crash? Say hello to Rise Energy Strips, your new go-to for clean, fast energy.
Each strip delivers 50 milligrams of caffeine, vitamin B12, L-theanine, and electrolytes. all in one tiny berry-flavored strip. Just pop it under your tongue and feel the boost in seconds. No jitters, no water, no crash. It's vegan, sugar-free, and absorbs to 5 times faster than pills or drinks.
Perfect for work, workouts, or whatever you need to power up fast. Ready to rise?
Get 25% off your first order of strips at riseup.com/stampede.
That's RIIZEUP.com, because energy should be smart, simple, and effective. All right, welcome back to the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Get your boost and get your fill with Rise Energy Strips, RIIZEU up, or UP, I should say, riseup.com, and get your Rise Energy Strips today. All right, you can find this podcast on YouTube. You can watch it there, or you want to listen. You can listen to anywhere you find your podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, all those kind of places. We appreciate you joining us. You can find us on social media and interact with us at the Stampede UT. And we're excited for this second segment because it's Vince and Mack talking about Ohio State and everything that went into the preparation of it. I know, Mack, you've told the story a lot about Vince writing on the grease board, hey, if you want to do this, if you want to beat Ohio State, come meet me at 7. But Vince, I want to know from your perspective what it was like inside that locker room over that 8-month span going into Ohio State, because everybody likes to hear we're focused on today and making today better. And you guys had Ohio State circled and read and ready to go. So what's the balance of that? And how did you go about that 8 months, making that a motivating point, knowing you're going to Ohio State?
Well, we didn't have to do too much because Coach Brown took care of that. From, from the off season, always throwing that out there to the team, like, hey, if you're not showing up here, you're not doing this, just know that's going to hurt us in the Ohio State game. And then once we figured out what time we was about to play, I was like, whoa. And then all of a sudden you hear they never lost a game at that stadium and that you at night. And we was like, whoa. So they had to do us like that. So, as a quarterback, you like, okay, well, we finna pull out our bag to go down here and win this game. So, from, Rod Wright to myself, Selman Young, Lawson Line, Casey, Jay Scott, we took it upon ourselves to kind of make the week a little bit more fun and try to take it off our teammates about, yes, it is a big game. But in the same time, we had team meetings, we had, gatherings, like let's go eat together to kind of take your mind off of it because, yes, they are a really good football team. They established that the last couple of years and got a great coaching staff, and then you got the shoe. The fans are crazy. So we, as a player, you want to take that out of our guys' mind, and that's what I was good at, being goofy, having fun with the guys, playing music in the locker room, doing all the things that can, once we leave team meetings and position meetings, getting our preparation and things like that, you want to get the guys more relaxed. And then when we get to the practice field, we, thank God, Coach let us play our music at practice, and that kept guys loose, even when we were stretching and getting ourselves prepared. And then once we get up to a team and like break down, okay, the leaders in there like, okay, guys, let's focus. Let's get ready. Things like that, talking to the guys throughout practice. Hey, this is third down part of practice. We have to win that battle. Okay, every time we go up on third down, make sure we getting the first down. Make sure we're doing the right things. Make sure you're getting your full depth on your routes, O-line. Make sure you got the right protection down. Things like that. You just constantly talking about it, throughout practice. And then once we get there, oh my God. I ain't never seen nothing like it. Coach, we got a good coaching staff. Hey, don't feed into that. We driving in, they throwing stuff at the buses. And when we go out, I think for the game, coach like, put your helmets on. We're like, what? Put our helmets on for what? He's like, they finna throw something at your helmet. So we put our helmets on. We walk out. For sure, they was throwing bottle tops at your head. All you heard was click, 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 click. We trying to rush people like, move, hurry up, get out. And then once we get to the field, we hear the boos. I mean, it's loud. It is, to a point like, it's nothing you can do about this right here. about the atmosphere, about everything that's going on right now. And you can't do nothing about that. Now it's time to lock in. So that's what we did. We locked in and knew that we was out there by ourselves with a little small group of fans that was in a little small section. And then we had just our teammates and our coaching staff, and that was it. And we was at war with a team that's unbelievable team from AJ Hawk. I mean, when I first met him, when I was in Green Bay for a couple of weeks, I went up to him like, dude, you one of the best players I ever played. Like, we couldn't block you for nothing, dude. Like, what were you on? Whatever it is, I'm pretty sure it's illegal now.
He was different. He was
But he was
different.
different.
Rise up.
College,
It was
man.
Rise
Rise up.
strips.
Yeah,
He
he
was
was on
Rise.
Rise before Rise was Rise.
Mack,
But it
was
was
that-
unbelievable. It was unbelievable experience. And I really feel like, from the coach's standpoint, from Coach Brown and the rest of the coaching staff, they did a great job. And then we did a good job at practice dialing in. And that was one of the things about us, not even the year against Ohio State, the year before, we knew how to dial in and focus to get ready to play. And we did that probably the best than anybody in the country that year and the year before.
That practice leads to the prep. All that preparation leads into game day. Mack, you've been just about everywhere in the United States. Does anything compare to that night in Columbus? Is there an atmosphere that you've been in that was comparable to what you experienced going into Columbus? I know we talk about OU, we talk about A&M, all the things that you play at Texas, but is there anything comparable to that?
I don't think so. You couldn't hear anything. And it started on Friday. We were having our walkthrough, and their band was down there harassing us while we were having the walkthrough. So I walked down and sat with the band and said, God, I'd love to see you dot the I. It's one of the real traditions in college football, and they ended up being good before we left. But tremendous respect for Jim Tressel. What a great team. I've said many times, if we had not won that game, Ohio State would have played USC for the national championship. And it's different now because you've still got a chance, if you win your league, to get in the playoffs. We have one loss in the BCS. We're probably out. So we divided our season up, and we had a 2-game season. We were going to beat Louisiana at home, and we needed to get ready for trips and understand Friday night and your meeting times and your pregame meal, and all your young ones have to learn the structure and the routine. And then you beat them 60-3, so you don't want to show anything, but you got to get guys some playing time. And then you go, you're playing for a possible national championship the second game of the season. And it is different now, but Texas going to Ohio State, it's kind of like we were going to Ohio State. We had just beaten Michigan, but we didn't accomplish what we wanted to. We didn't win the national championship. So we went to Ohio State with a chip on our shoulder. We still had something to prove. And Texas is going up there with this same mindset. Ohio State, on the other hand, just won the national championship. Everybody's still bragging on them. They're just getting their rings. It's really hard for Coach Day to make them focus on everything that's not national championship, because that's all they hear. And you hear it every day. So they've got to fight that as they go to this game. But Vince is so right. It's got to be player-led. And Vince and that group of seniors were such great leaders. They made this team believe. They made it have fun. The other thing is, when you've got a potential to have an uptight team, you got to relax them. So we were relaxed. They're going to look at me and see if I'm uptight. And if the players think I'm uptight and I got more information than anybody else, they're going to be uptight. So I had to be relaxed. Even if I wasn't, I had to act like I was. I had to dance with Vince and listen to the music and learn most of the words. I couldn't say all of them, but we had to have fun.
Yes.
And we told them that. It's just like the national championship game. We wanted it to be fun. You work too hard to get to a huge game like this that is the game of the week, the game of the year in some cases. Go enjoy it, man. Enjoy that stadium. And the best thing you can do is quieten them. Yeah. Have 106,000 quiet when you walk out of there.
Oh, yeah.
And make sure that you have the respect that you need, because they had a great team, not a good team.
Yes, they did.
Vince, I'm going to ask you this. I'm not going to mince words when I say this, because I've had more people tell me, more Texas fans tell me that was the worst fan base they've had to deal with of any trip they've ever made, and that includes Arkansas and A&M and OU. Oh, wow. I've just heard that fan base was just atrociously. I mean, I don't know how it was bad. It was really bad going to Columbus. How did you guys compartmentalize it? To Coach's point, what did you do Friday and Saturday to lock in and make it so that you were like, it doesn't matter if they're throwing beers at us or whatever.
Yeah.
None of that matters. All that matters is we go on this field and we get a win tonight.
Well, we just had a chip on our shoulder. One of the things that coach that I love that we did, we went to the movies the night before. You know, it keeps you calm. Everybody loves a good movie, some popcorn, nice soft drink, M&Ms. You know how it goes when you go to the movies. And then you get to have fun with your teammates. You know, it's always some kind of prank going on. We always take dead aim on one of our teammates to have fun, to make him the joke. And he doesn't like it, but he got to deal with it because, hey, it's not about you. It's about all of us, right? So that's what we did, you know, the night before. And then, you know, the hard part took in when you had to wait, you know, all day, trying to keep your body warm, get in and out of the shower, hot showers, trying not to eat too much, trying not to study too much, go watch film. You know, that was the hard part. And, you know, I think a lot of us did, but in the same time, once that first bus, you know on your schedule what time that bus leave. I think everybody tried to get on that first bus because everybody was like ready to go. So I think we did a good job the night before going to the movies and just having fun, not thinking about the game, and then, you know, trying our best not to burn too much energy waiting to go play. But I thought it was pretty funny that a lot of people try to get on that first bus to get to the stadium.
And Bob, I think it's a huge advantage for the home team when it's a night game.
Yes.
Yeah, they're in their own places. They're comfortable. They've got family around. They got their friends around. That visiting team has to sit there all day, like Vince said, and you got to get up. But you're watching every game. You're nervous. Sometimes you're so nervous you want to go to sleep because you just want to relax, and you can't go to sleep because that makes you groggy for the day and the game. So that is such an advantage this year for Texas that it's a noon game. They're going to get in there. They'll be up at 7:00. They'll eat pregame meal at 8. They'll be in that stadium by 9, 10. I mean, it is such an advantage to play early that I'm sure Ohio State wasn't very happy with that because, like Ben said, we finished the game at midnight. We were home at 5 and had to get up and come to practice the next day. So Texas will be home by 10.
And our body was hurting because AJ was tearing my butt up. I'm like, can we block this guy?
And Carpenter, he was picking on you before the game. So.
Exactly. They had a great team. They had a really good team. I got a lot of respect for Ohio State.
Yeah,
Mac,
and Jim Tressel.
Yes,
Sure.
Coach Tressel.
Sure. Mac, do you think there's maybe a more fair comparison to the 06 game with this one because of the amount of talent that went to the NFL after after last season for both Texas and Ohio State? Lost a ton to the NFL. Ohio State obviously lost its 2 coordinators. Now it's, Brian Hartline taking over as offensive coordinator and Matt Patricia as defensive coordinator. Is there a more similar comparison to that with maybe Colt and Arch? I know Arch has had a little more experience than Colt did, but do you see maybe a more similar pattern with 06 than 05?
A little bit, but when you look at our 06 team, Colt hadn't played any. He sat and watched Vince. And Ohio State was mad at us coming to Austin. They weren't happy. We cost them a possible national championship the year before, and they had most of their team back. So when you start looking at that game, I thought they had the advantage, and they ran the ball so well against us. And I think we fumbled twice inside the 10. So that really hurt us as well. But what a tough one for Colt to play that early in the season, where I think, and Vince mentioned it last week, Arch played in this year's Ohio State game. Arch has been in a playoff game. He sat there the day before. He sat there the day of the game. He's prepared himself mentally. So going to Ohio State, to me, will be easier for him than it is whoever they start, because they haven't even declared a starter yet. That poor guy going to be real nervous when he goes out there against the Texas defense on national TV at noon for the first time in his life.
Yeah.
Vince can tell you that now.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a load. And Arch has got a load, but I think Arch is just more prepared. He's got more experience. He's been in more meetings. He's been in more pre-games. He's been in more halftimes. He's played in key plays in ball games. He's made key plays. They put him in goal line and short yardage and where the pressure was on. He started a couple of games. There's so much difference in Vince in a third game and Vince in that opening game that he ever played in. And that's where I think the advantage goes here to Texas. Ohio State's got great players. They got a great team. They're at home. You would think that everything is Ohio State. The quarterback's the most important position in this game. He touches the ball every time, and the quarterback that usually plays the best is the team that wins.
Yeah.
And I just I'm an arch believer.
I think a lot of Texas fans are, no doubt. The good news is we've got a full month to talk about Ohio State and everything that's going to go into that game, and we'll get more into it in the coming weeks too, and get some more stories out of these guys about what really happened in the locker room right before the game, what happened all day as they were sitting around trying to figure out how they're going to keep their mind straight and get ready to go into Columbus. That'll be fun to get into some of those. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit more about the playoff structure. And I think this is going to be really interesting to get both of your thoughts on what this looks like right now and what maybe you'd like for it to look like, because there's so many options out there, so many different things and different ways this playoff could go in college football. So it'll be fun to get into that. We'll do that when we come back. This is The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Back after this. All right, time for the final segment of The Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Get your boost with Rise Energy Strips, RIIZEUP, riseup.com. We hope you'll try those. They've been our sponsor since day one. We love having Rise Energy Strips on board with us. Alongside Mack Brown and Vince Young, I'm Bob Ballou. We appreciate you joining us for this episode. We want to get into a little talk about the college football playoff in our final segment. I can't wait to get these guys' thoughts on what they want out of the playoff. There are a million options, and coaches have been coming out left and right, and we'll get into a few of those in a minute, but let's get your first thought. Do you like the 12-team playoff, Vince? Do you wish it was 4 again? Do you want it to go back to 2, where it's just the 2 teams trying to, like you guys
Boring.
at USC, it was all year?
Boring.
All right, so what do you want, Vince? Tell me what you want.
I like it at 12 right now because, it's fun to, as a player, to, continue your week. Your fight to the championship. You're going to be doing it on the next level. So you might as well get used to it. But I do like the 12 team, how it is. Let's stick to something for right now. I hate that every year you got to change something. There's something going on. Let's meet about this. Let's meet about that. It's crazy, how much upstairs that these guys making these decisions without talking with the players. And it's about the players, right? I thought it was. We the one out there running around in the heat, getting hit across our head, and y'all making decisions without us. But right now, I feel like, these guys are doing too much. I feel that's set. It's only been 1 year, right? So let's start with it for another, 3 to 4 years, and then come in with something new, which I believe, the play-in is pretty good, pretty cool. I like it. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to say, to your point, like, there's so many complaints and there's so many things that everybody thinks is wrong with the system. And,
Right.
the first round of the playoff last year, the margin of victory was 3 touchdowns. Well, in 12 of the 20 semifinal games, when it was just 4 teams, the margin of victory was 2 touchdowns plus. So it's not like it's just every game's going to be the most competitive game ever. And to your point, I just think it makes a lot of sense to have those conversations, but not always be changing.
All the time. Like, just sit back and collect data, don't let the ones that's probably been having a couple of drinks try to come in and try to change something and make comments. I'm like, we get it, especially as a college fan. You not just a fan, a student, you went there. You believe in that burnt orange. You believe in that ugly A&M colors. You believe in your team, and I get it, and I totally understand, especially if you feel like you win an undefeated season, you deserve to be there. I get it, but not so fast in my guy's voice, coach. Not so fast. So I just think that the guys should just slow down, man, and let's go a couple years with it, and then as it gets better or bad, let's make some better decisions. But right now, let's just kind of relax for a little bit.
Vince Young quoting Lee Corso is going to be the best thing that happens
Lee
to you
Corso,
today. Coach Brown, I want to take you through a couple things that I saw that are out there right now. Kalani Sitake talked about how he wants 9 regular season games for all conferences, and then you play 1 from each of the big conferences. So in BYU's case, they play 9 in the Big 12, play 1 team from the ACC, 1 team from the Big 10, 1 team from the SEC in the non-conference. Eli Drinkwitz thinks the playoff should be 30 teams with play-in games.
30.
Where do you stand on kind of where this playoff is shaping up right now, and how good is it to hear some of these coaches' thoughts? As obviously they put a lot of thought into it, a lot of time into it. What do you like about some of the thoughts, and what do you not like about some of the thoughts that are going on with the playoff right now?
Well, I like the fact that coaches have a voice, but Vince also said players need to have a voice, and probably within the conferences, and then they can speak out because they're the bodies that have to go from early August till right now, January 20th was the national championship game. So you've limited
as many as 17 games, right?
Yeah.
I mean, as many as 17 games for these kids.
And you're limited your roster from 120 to 105. So what does that do for preseason? What does that do for postseason as you look at it? I do think it's good to look at what we're doing and evaluate. I don't think you should have buys. We need to play. The season's too long. Kids don't want to sit at that point in the season. I do think that the conference champions should get in, but they shouldn't be seated above somebody that's better than them. So we should look at the college football playoff poll, and that should seed teams. I do think the best teams should play at home, and then we incorporate the bowl games. I believe that each league should play 9 league games because I think that's important. Yeah. That you figure out who's the best team. I think at some point we'll move back to week 0 and start playing the season earlier. So we won't have to play into a late January, February, and compete with the NFL. I do think that to me, the group of 5 should have their own playoff system. They shouldn't get a place in the playoff just because it's the best team of that group. Let them play for their national championship. That's the best chance for them to win one. Let them have their own awards. FCS has got their own playoffs. They've got their own champion. Let Group of 5 do the same. It's going to separate more now with money because the ones with money are going to have better players, and it's going to make it harder for the Group of 5 to hang in there and compete for a championship. Give everybody a chance to play for a national championship before the season starts. And then try to figure out how to, the bowls have been wonderful for all of us. They've been a wonderful experience. Some teams can't get to the playoffs. I would go 16 in time because we're really looking at an NFL model with most of the things that are happening in college football. So I would sit down with the NFL and say, how's your pay structure? How did you get to salary cap? What about collective bargaining? What about your player unions? Talk to me about how you took years to come to this and it's really working for you. So let's look at a model that's working and real and figure out how we can adjust it to college to get some competitive balance with what's happening because we're losing our competitive balance.
Yeah.
And then figure out, put some of the playoffs in the bowl games, put the national championship for the Group of 5 in the bowl games. And then the teams that don't quite make the playoff but are really good, put them in like the NIT for basketball, put them in the bowl games and still have good bowl games that people will want to watch and kids will want to play in. And then tie their NIL contracts to the bowl games so kids are playing and bowl games matter because they matter if you can't get to that playoff. So that's just where I would be and I think we're headed in that direction.
Yeah, and
Mack, just to that point, yeah, go ahead, Vince.
I'm sorry, to add to that, I mean, what Coach just said, like why we don't have players from different conferences there at that committee listening and letting them know how we feel about, these decisions that's being made, because we the ones out there playing and we should be there at these meetings listening. Where that kid doesn't go to NFL, he can always fall back on that, being a part of that, speaking up for the players. You see what the NFL has, NBA, NFL PA. You had the NBA PA. You got these presidents representing players up in the next level, we should do that now. I mean, you can now hold these kids accountable. They are very intelligent, very smart, and now they're getting paid now. So let's treat them like that, and let's make sure that. So I'm speaking for the entire players that play the game. We should be at these meetings and being a part of that. And then if you look at, like Coach just said, the NFL and as well as the NBA, they have the play in as well, and it's very successful. Now you putting it on the players, and you can't complain. We gave you an opportunity to play in. You lost. You're not going. Plain and simple. And if you do these things, I feel like Coach just said, you will want to see guys not playing their last games because they don't feel like they're going to get hurt or things like that. You want them to stay and finish that last game with their teammates and things like that, as well as for the fans and things like that. So, again, me and Coach are saying the same thing, but from a player standpoint, and Coach just hit it right on point. Unbelievable. Great job, Coach. This is what needs to be happening for the future.
Bob, when we played Michigan in the Rose Bowl, Cedric Benson, who we lost and was one of the most competitive people I've ever met in my life, he hyperextends his knee in the first drive in the Michigan game.
Yeah.
Doctors tell him, you're going to be a top pick. You shouldn't play. You're okay, but you shouldn't play. That you may get hurt. Cedric said, tape it up, man.
Yeah, that's not
This
his
is
blood.
Texas, Michigan. No. So he
Right.
played the whole game. He was such a factor of helping Vince run because they had to watch for Cedric. They didn't know he was hurt. So the game's over, and I talked to the team. I talked to the media. I'm walking out of the locker room, and I see Cedric sitting over in his full Texas uniform in the corner, and he's crying. And I walked over and said, is it your knee? And he said, no, Coach. I said, well, what's wrong? He said, this is the last time I'll ever get to wear a Texas football uniform.
Steve.
And I don't want to take it off. And that's what we're missing right now in some areas. Vince just said it. You got to have guys that want to play the game. They got to play the game. You can't just want the money or worried about getting hurt or I got to go to the NFL and it's not going to work if I don't get this done or that done. And I think that's such a key part of this. And the other thing Vince will tell you is I always ask the players. I wanted their opinion.
Yeah.
So I asked them, I said, here are the things I'm being hit with. Here are the thoughts. What do you all think? And I got great input from them because they would come up with great ideas that I could take back to the commissioner and say, here's what our team thinks.
Yeah.
And I thought the players were even more important than the staff because the staff and I we're sitting there with our salaries and our little room, and we weren't playing. These guys were playing, so I wanted to know what they thought.
Thank you, Coach. That's why we loved you. You cared. You gave a damn.
I did. And I do. That's why we're still doing this. We're
And
still
still do,
talking
yeah,
about trying to
Why
help
we're
the
still
players.
talking about it.
Exactly.
And so much now is based on money. We've got to be really careful because money is important.
Yeah, it is.
And we've got to have the money. But we can't just make decisions for money and lose the best interest of the players.
The love for the game, baby.
No doubt. Listen, if there's a conversation that I don't want to cut off, it's this one. But I'm going to tell you the good thing about this is we got a ton of time to talk about it again. We have so much more to get into with this stuff, and that's just the Cedric Benson story is just one example of some of the insight you get listening to the Stampede that you're just not going to get anywhere else. With Mack Brown and Vince Young telling stories like that, how could you not want to be here? So both of you guys, as always, thank you for being a part of this one, and we look forward to doing it again next week.
Thanks. See you soon.
Thanks. Love
All
you
right,
guys. Appreciate you.
That's
Love
Vince
you.
Young and Mack Brown. The love is in the air. It's Vince Young and Mack Brown as a part of the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns, sponsored by Rise Energy Strips. Get your boost. Go to RizeUp, RiizeUP.com. This is the Stampede, a podcast on the Texas Longhorns. We'll see you next week.